Eddie Brennan on the line. Hey, Eddie.
Good evening, Joe. How's it going? Are you well?
Yeah, very well. So this Munster round robin is box office. We have Limerick 7 points, Clare 5 points. That's our Munster final. We can box those two away for the moment and say that's all sorted. And then we have Cork and Waterford 2 points apiece. Tipperary still on 0 points. And next round we have Cork playing Tipperary. Very simply, if Cork beat Tipperary, then Waterford are gone by dint of head-to-head. If Cork lose and Waterford beat Clare, then Waterford go through. And then the really, I suppose, messy but nail-biting scenario, if Tip beat Cork and Clare beat Waterford, then we have Cork, Tip and Waterford all into points difference, and who knows what comes out in the wash there. Let's start with Waterford 119, Cork 222. 6 point win for Cork at Walsh Park. Kieran Kingston said it keeps us alive. Liam Cahill said Cork full value for their win. They were full value for their win. Cork, where you been?
Yeah, I suppose this is the Cork that we were all talking about in the aftermath of the league semi-final against Kilkenny, in which they won, a right good game when it was there to be won. And a team then that, I remember you joking a few weeks before the championship when we done the preview about playing the tape over about who would get through Munster. And I think we kind of joked on the night that it could flip so quickly. And yeah, that's what's after happening because, the bolter was Clare, who have come out of the blue. And not surprisingly either, but I think it's just probably more so the fashion in which maybe Cork and Waterford's form has plummeted on them. But yeah, to be fair to Cork, I thought there was an edge to them the other day. They actually went man-to-man. They were able to, probably helped by the small, narrow pitch. It meant that they could contain Waterford that little bit more. And they stepped up. And I think some of their more seasoned fellas, Joe, delivered. Lehannon Harnedy, Shamey Harnedy. I think what you've seen, even when he got that point towards the end, the jump, which he nearly cleared the fence, he went so high. Yeah. That's just, I suppose, raw emotion, frustration, and it's all just releasing a little bit because they know they've actually rolled up their sleeves and put in a performance.
Yeah, it's good to see it was there because you were almost starting to wonder over the performances. Where was that emotion and that anger? And it was good to see it was there. Your point on being able to contain Waterford at Walsh Park is interesting because if you think of Waterford during the league campaign, they were full of speed, they were full of athleticism, and I don't know, they were a touch almost boxed in their own pitch.
Yeah, and this is an observation that we had in the aftermath of the Tip match. We said that Tip were able to make a small pitch even smaller in that match and were well up for it. And, I remember, years ago you'd be talking to the Waterford lads and about, playing Munster Championship and that. And I remember, it was a Ken McGrath maybe said, they loved going to Thurles. I think, particularly this team, and I think there was an issue going back when the round robin started. The question was, Walsh Park was being done up. Could they use maybe even Nolan Park was looked at and said, no, it's outside Munster. But I definitely think, I suppose, just to fast track the answer really, if Liam Cahill is looking ahead to next year, I think that's a serious conversation that they need to have because the pitch is, I'm pretty sure, and I stand to be corrected, but 8 metres narrower than your standard pitch. So it just doesn't suit the kind of game. And you look at then the league final against Waterford where they just against Cork, they just opened up Cork in Semple Stadium. And I think, I loved hurling in Semple Stadium. And I didn't really like going to Walsh Park because it was that tight pitch. And I just don't think it's helping Waterford at the moment. And I think that point for Liam Cahill is maybe if you're going forward into next year, you're saying, I think we need to look at this because
won't be popular, will it?
No, it won't. And I think the whole home advantage is obviously a big thing. There's the finances involved, and I understand that. But, I would question maybe, and again, I'm just thinking where the dressing rooms are in Walsh Park. They're not far from the tunnel, which is close enough to the pitch. So maybe there's not a huge amount of scope to widen that pitch. But I just wonder, in the development of it a few years ago, was making the pitch a little bit bigger ever looked at? Because I'd be willing to lose 300 or 400 or 500 people at the match with the view to having a bigger pitch, a full-size inter-county pitch. And then I'm mindful of where Walsh Park is as well. It's in a residential area, so I'm sure there's planning issues there. You can't go up too high with a stand, and I suppose I have to put a level of understanding on that. But definitely, they should look at something, because it definitely, for me anyway, it's a factor. It's not the reason on its own, but the way they play, it's definitely not helping.
So all the optimism of the league is evaporating before our eyes here. And one of the other points that was made towards the end of the league was when Austin Gleeson was sent off and missed the league final, that Liam Cahill made a big ploy of not appealing that card. And almost, I probably said it to you potentially here on this show. We were saying, God, everything for Waterford is coming up roses here, and Cal can afford not to appeal the Gleeson red card. And mark my words, that'll be the last time Ozzie Gleeson gets sent off anytime soon.
Yeah, we did, and we discussed it. And I think, there's that well-watched clip of Liam Cahill, when it happened at the Wexford League semi-final, and you're kind of going, this is a concern, because it's needless. And look, I have to put my understanding on the situation, saying, look, as a marquee player, like Austin Gleeson, I have to appreciate that he is targeted. But I do think, why do you get targeted sometimes? It's because you probably react. And I think it's unfortunate. And you'd like to think at this stage, I'm sure Liam Cahill had a hard conversation with Austin maybe at the time, and certain commitments were probably made. And yeah, this is part of inter-county hurling. You get targeted, but I think you have to be sometimes bigger than that, because how you hurt opposition is on the scoreboard. And if you look at maybe, other players, and I suppose, look, I'm sure Austin Gleeson definitely doesn't need us talking about here tonight. He knows himself he's let his teammates down and probably let himself down to get drawn into that stuff. And he'll be very disappointed. If he's been honest with himself, I'm sure he will. But there comes a time where you have to say, no. How you hurt people in them situations is you keep doing what you're doing, you score heavily. And sometimes, you might get a mean one sometimes off the ball. Sometimes you might get someone leaves it injured, they follow through. You have to be bigger than it. You just have to suck it up sometimes. And maybe you can argue that the officials should be helping him a tiny bit here. But at the same time, I think, he can't blame the officials for the late tackle, that got him the original yellow. And then, when you tangle. And it's just disappointing, because it has probably hurt himself and hurt Waterford in the heel of the hunt. And I suppose to come back to the point, I'd imagine that, among other things, is contributing, unfortunately, to Waterford. I think the issue with free taking as well has definitely hurt.
Interesting day for Patrick Horgan. Passes Joe Canyon as the all-time championship scorer, which is an amazing feat and personal achievement, and then he's hauled off pretty promptly. What's your read on Horgan and this Cork team?
Yeah, I think this is, the league semi-final against Kilkenny. He got whipped off, and yesterday, it was an unbelievable record, and I think it's fitting that it's marked, because it's a special thing. It's a landmark thing. But I think he seems to be just not himself at the moment. He's, whether that's the way Cork are playing or whatever, I think sometimes, maybe when you look at the form he's shown over the years, I mean, he has often single-handedly, you think of that semi-final against Kilkenny in 19, or the quarter-final against Kilkenny in 19, he scored 310 or something. And there's days he has done that. But I suppose sometimes when you're playing at that maybe 7 or 8 out of 10, so sometimes you get a bit fatigued and you get a little bit maybe just tired, and you're not as driven as you are. And then you look around too, and I think there's a lot of willing replacements there at the moment. And I think Patrick Horgan is 34, so by the modern game, he's probably an elder statesman. And I think when you have someone of the caliber of Arlen Connolly, breathing down your neck, that can bring its own little pressure. I'm trying to put myself into Patrick Horgan's shoes here. Yeah. That probably brings a little bit of pressure. When you get taken off once or twice, that just makes it even, sometimes you try too hard. But look, the record yesterday, I think that's probably the important thing. And he's going to get another opportunity to build it even.
Yeah, that's the headline news. Extraordinary achievement. So we were talking in the news round about how soulless Croke Park felt once again for a double header in the football with 30,000 there, and didn't compare favourably, that experience, to Limerick 121, Clare 24 points in Ennis. 18,000 crammed in there, capacity crowd. The two sides were level on 14 occasions. The lead changed hand 10 times. It was an extraordinary kind of occasion. Was a draw about right for you, or what did you make of this performance? Because actually, on Clare, you were one of the very few in that conversation we had a few weeks back previewing the championship. You were one of the very few that felt good about Clare strongly.
Yeah, I felt the form at that particular moment in time suggested Waterford, Cork and Limerick, obviously. But I felt if there was a bolter, I said, look, it's year 3, maybe under loan, or 4. He's building nicely, and they have a good squad. So look, it's probably against the form of the league, but I suppose it is the league now. So that's thrown that out the window, and it's shown that they are worthy of that, and they've qualified for a Munster final, and I think on merit too. I just, even on a separate thing for that, like the match yesterday, like I was at home watching telly, and I have to say, I've played in Ennis a few times. It's a great venue. It's always tense. It's always kind of there's a hostile atmosphere there, and I'd love to have been there, because it was a rip-roaring game. I think after 20-25 minutes, Tony Kelly was running the muck at one end, Dermot Burns was keeping Limerick going at the other end, and yeah, I think the draw was probably the fair result. But I think what it is that Limerick just, I think it was brilliant for John Kiley yesterday. He was able to give a couple of guys a fairly saucy championship match that there was a lot at stake for, that there was going to be nothing easy. And it's just building his squad. He was able to rest Galan, and I think that was maybe a good thing given the type of match it was going to be. I think, did he need to see Galan in that type of scenario? Probably not. He knows what he's going to get. But Limerick were able to still get the job done amidst that atmosphere.
Limerick and discipline's been a talking point right through the league campaign. Garage Hegarty signing off. He's going to be appealed. John Kiley said, nothing here whatsoever, nothing there whatsoever was his quote. We'll appeal it, and hopefully the error will be rectified. I suppose there were two aspects to it. There was the line ball yellow card. It's kind of an interesting one in that Limerick player not retreating. So Hegarty says, well, I'm going to smack it at you. And then, some people are of the opinion, well, actually the Clare lad should get the yellow card, if anyone there. I mean, you should be entitled to take a quick sideline cut if you want to. And then the actual the second yellow, and it's worth remembering it was just a yellow. He didn't get a straight red card for it. That was deemed a yellow. Fitzgerald, I think the Clare player, was holding his elbow. It was hard to see much in it, to be fair. He made plenty of it, and Hegarty, I mean, maybe in a not dissimilar way to Gleeson, and like several other Limerick players, now has a reputation, and referees are maybe more inclined. So all of this is bubbling around Limerick, and Kiley's fed up with it, and he's talking about it a lot. So this is there. Like, it all does feel as if there's a red that's going to be decisive somewhere along the line for Limerick. But what of the one in Ennis in particular?
Yeah, I think I think he knows what he's doing with that sideline. I think maybe there was a player, and you think, right, I suppose I'm trying to put myself into Hegarty's position here and say, do I really need to swing as wild and as strong as I did? And I don't think there is a runner there. I think he's just kind of letting, McInerney, and the two of them were having a ding-dong battle. I mean, that, we saw the two of them going at it. But I suppose in that situation, if I'm Hegarty, I'm going, do I need to do this? And again, say, right, is there actually an offence there? Well, yeah, you're striking across an opponent if you want to be really technical about it. And yeah, like, I think I'd be more kind of at that situation. McInerney is on a yellow, and he's marking me around the pitch. So I'm kind of going, I don't need to get drawn into this kind of a battle. I don't need to get any attention brought to myself for this. And then if you can argue, maybe it should have been a free for the Clare man not retreating or anything like that.
No, but I do take your point, because the quick sideline, it wasn't in the spirit of I'm trying to hit someone. It was purely in the spirit of I'm trying to smack it off you and get you in trouble.
I think so, and I think Hegarty knows that. And again, he's showing the ref, look, I'm trying to move it on, and that's fair enough. I suppose I get that, but I think it's how strong he swings on it. Like, and Dave McInerney says very cool, he just leaves his hurl there and he drives the hurl flying, and then there's the whole bit of he done this and I done that or whatever else it is. And I think when he got the yellow, I think on reflection he'll definitely look back, or he should be looking back today and going saying, God, I didn't really need to do that. I don't think I did. And you say, you can look at it from his side or from the other side. But I would just think, and again, the backdrop, Joe, is what we talked about this perception with Limerick. And I think what's significant here too, and I'm surprised in a way that maybe there was the freedom to do this, but Hegarty said there, he did get a red card during the league against Galway, and he said, I think he admitted himself, there's no issue with that. But he's saying kind of last week in an interview I read somewhere that, I'm not backing down and we're not, and I'm kind of going, that's a mindset that's for the dressing room, not so much the public domain. And I think I'm surprised that you're kind of saying that out loud, because I felt he's kind of daring officials as such that, look, I'm playing on the edge here and I'm not backing down or whatever. And I think you're just drawing a little bit of attention to yourself, maybe. Maybe I'm being hard on him here, but I know if I'm in that situation, I might be privately thinking I'm not going to back down or we're going to keep an edge to our game. But I don't think there's a need to maybe say that out publicly, because you're possibly just bringing attention on yourself, maybe. The second one then, look, I think it's a silly one. Again, it's needless, but there's not a huge amount of contact. And yes, I do think the Clare player is disappointing. I think we've spoken about simulation before, Joe, one or two nights. And I think that's one thing you don't want to see. But I suppose in the circumstances, this is becoming a commonplace. Players know guys are on yellow cards and they're just trying to maybe plant a seed. For me, the most disappointing aspect of this, Joe, and sorry now for the long-winded answer.
No, it's interesting.
I think is that my reading of it was I couldn't see the linesman giving Colm Lyons any input whatsoever when he went to him originally. Yeah. He just seemed to be just mouth closed. Colm Lyons looks a little bit kind of bemused and he's going, right, well, what's going on here? Then he trudges off into the two umpires who clearly haven't a clue. And then he comes back out. And I just would love to know what changed from when he went to the linesman originally to the second time, that now it's a second yellow card. Because if the linesman saw something that is the yellow card, then there you are. I don't need to go near my umpires who are maybe 50 metres away. So I think on a technical issue there, I don't think, for me, Hegarty shouldn't have been sent off, because, and again, look, I'm not privy to that conversation. Sure. I don't know what input the linesman put in, so maybe there was something there. But looking at it there, I'm not so sure. They are 110% sure that Garrod Hegarty done something. No. And if that's the case, he has to get the benefit of the doubt.
I think they're almost so taken with the reaction of the Clare player. They're like, well, something must have happened. And they almost worked their way backwards off that. A very quick one. I've about 30 seconds, unfortunately. Sorry, right. the nature of things. Tony Kelly, 16 points in the first 50 minutes of the game. Davy Fitz said last night, best hurler in the country. Who's your hurler of the year if I was to draw on a line in the sand now and say where we are thus far?
Probably, I think Dermot Burns at the moment.
Yeah, he's anytime Limerick are against it, he seems to rise to the occasion for them.
He's just 10 points, I think, yesterday. So I just, even looking at it there's 4 or 5 Limerick players all leading the way at the moment. And like Tony Kelly's going to have to do 2 more of them probably to surpass the lads. But for me at the moment, pound for pound, it's Dermot Burns. But I think why it's Dermot Burns is because I think Hannon and himself work so well. Hannon does the simple things. Byrne gets the little bit of he puts the gloss on it, I think.
Okay, well listen, we've neglected Leinster and neglected Kilkenny's win and Westmeath's draw against Wexford, so we'll do that again in the coming weeks, I'm sure. Eddie Brennan, thanks so much, appreciate it, Eddie.
All the best, Joe, thank you.